Hey everybody, welcome back to Kevin's One-Stop Shop, where no job is too big, no job is too small. I have a Hammerhead torpedo go-kart sitting here. It's a small frame go-kart, small CC engine that's suited for a range of ages. My little boy first started riding this thing at 3 years old, and I have the pedals adjusted as close as they would go to the seat. And as you can see now, they're fully extended as far away as they can go. He's 5 now with plenty of room to grow. I actually have a 7-year-old that rides another one, and he's not too cramped up in there either. At some point, we'll have to step up to the next size, but for now, this thing has worked anywhere from ages 3 to 7. I've seen 9-year-olds ride them, just depending on the size of the kid, of course. Well, anyway, what I'm having issues with the chain right here, the top chain and this bottom chain, they're both in need of adjustment. So I was going to go through this video and show you a little bit about how to adjust the chain. This motor is not the original motor that came on it. It was rear-ended, and rather than trying to piece it back together with parts, wait on them to come in, spend a lot of time doing that, and then to find out, hey, I probably need more parts, and just delay the project even longer, I went down to Harbor Freight with a coupon and spent 99 bucks on that whole engine. Of course, it don't come with a sprocket and the clutch and all that, but everything's pretty much on the motor that you would need. So some things you're going to want to loosen up before you start trying to adjust. There's a bolt right here, and what this bolt does is it causes this plate that the engine is mounted to slide back and forth on these two rails. And so what happens is, as you slide the plate, which the engine's mounted to, back and forth with this bolt, that's going to cause this chain right here, this chain here, to tighten or loosen. Now, one thing you're going to have to do too is, once you loosen up the bolt and jam nuts, there are 4 bolts underneath that rail. Not sure how well you're going to be able to see them, but I'll try to point them out. But there's 4 bolts. There is one right there. There's another one directly in front of it, and then over towards the sprocket, there's another one, and one up front. So when you unloosen those 4 bolts, that's going to allow this plate to be able to slide on these rails. So that will help you to adjust the chain in one direction. Now, in order to adjust the bottom chain, you're going to need to adjust this, for lack of better terms, all threaded rod. So there's a nut here and there's a nut on the bottom. And what you're going to have to do is unloosen both of those. So in this case, with the chain being loose, I want to pitch the motor up, which is going to make that chain tighter. So what I did was I'm going to loosen up this top nut just a little bit. That's already loosened up. I want to show you that. And then on the bottom, you're going to need to unloosen this nut on the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. But anyway, when you unloosen that bolt, what it's going to do is, since this nut is resting on this bushing, it's going to cause a gap to be created between the frame and that nut. And that will allow you to be able to tighten down on this nut, which will allow this to come up and that chain to get tighter. Now, if you find yourself, if you find this nut getting a little bit tighter than it should be, then what's happened is this nut on the bottom has pulled up against the bottom of the frame, and you're going to need to loosen that up some. So what I like to do is make some adjustments, check the chain, and then check down here to see if I have any room for any more adjustments. Once I get done adjusting it, then you'll lock this bolt, this nut down, and that nut down. That will jam it in place so it doesn't vibrate. One more thing is, in order to be able to pitch this up and down, there is a bolt that runs through the frame in front of the motor. And you can see it right here. There is a nut right here, and that bolt goes all the way through this, and there's a head that's on the other side. So what you're going to need to do is, you're going to need to hold this side of the bolt and then adjust this, and that will loosen up that bolt where it's not bound here, and then that'll allow it to be able to pivot up and down. So when you adjust that big bolt, that's going to allow that motor to be able to pitch up and down depending on how you adjust this right here in the back. So loosen up this will allow you to be able to pitch the motor up and down with this. Loosening up the 4 bolts on the bottom of this plate will allow you to be able to adjust the motor back and forth with this bolt. And of course, you'll need to loosen those jam nuts as well. And then once you get it all adjusted where it needs to be, you'll need to go ahead and tighten all 4 of the bolts under the bottom of that rail. You'll need to tighten these jam nuts back here. Then you'll need to go ahead and tighten this bolt back right here, as well as tighten up both of these jam nuts. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I have taken, and I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this nut up on the bottom here some, give myself some room. And now that it's turning pretty free, and I can run my hand in here and I can tell there is a little bit of distance, but we'll go ahead and go just a little bit further. It don't take a whole lot here to do it, but you just want to keep checking on it. So now that I've got that loosened up, I'm going to take this bolt, this nut, and I'm going to tighten it down. What that's going to do is that's going to cause this part of this all-thread rod to get longer on the top side of the frame, which is going to, in essence, tighten up that chain. And like I said, there's a little bit of resistance there. Some of it's just going to be from the weight of the engine, and as well as you're going to have dirt and grime down in there. So make you a little bit of adjustment. You can start seeing that. You can see where I've raised it up a little bit. That helps you reference how much you've raised it. Feel this chain. It's still got a little bit of slop in it, a little more slop than I want. You can see right here, way more slop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tighten down on this some more. And I'm just going to repeat that process until I get it the way I want. Okay, so what I've done is I've finished adjusting the chain. And so basically what I've done is that bolt right there, I've went ahead and tightened that all the way back. I adjusted this up and down. You can see a little bit of difference from where I started. That you can see more threads exposed, meaning the engine's pitched up a little more. I went ahead and tightened this nut and the nut on the bottom, jammed them up. After making a little bit of adjustments, I didn't really have to mess with the top chain. I'm gonna leave it like it is, like it is. One thing that can give you some problems with this is thing's sitting out in the weather, the chain getting rusted, or my kids love to play in the mud with them, and it just causes that chain to get wet. It'll rust, and then it'll bind. You can actually see right here, I don't know how well you can see it in the video, but there's a little bit of a kink in this chain right here. So what I've done is I've run a good bit of chain lube on the chain to kind of let it loosen up. And in a little while, I'll sit here and let this thing run kind of slow and put some lube back on it. And that'll probably help loosen it up some too. But anyway, I hope this helps out a little bit. Just try to make some videos here to help people out that may not know exactly how to do some things. I'm pretty much learning as I go on a lot of this stuff, but if I find something that may help somebody else, I like to try to share it. But anyway, if you would, leave me some comments. That way I can know what I'm doing good, what I'm doing bad. I'd like to keep continuing to make these videos because I've learned a lot off YouTube, and I'd like to kind of pay it forward. But anyway, hope y'all have a good day, and see you next time.